Suavemente. Hey there, AP Human Geo students. Let's learn all about lingua franca today. All right, lingua franca. Here we go. Oh, it's lingua franca. Lingua franca is a Latin term meaning common language, the language of the common folk. And it's a language that is adapted as a common language between speakers whose native languages are different. And the purpose of a lingua franca is supposed to facilitate communication and trade. So let me be very clear here. I was born in the United States. My parents raised me with English. And I'm not a good example of using English as a lingua franca. What would be a way better example is if I move to China and I'm hanging out in China, and especially in southern China where most people speak Cantonese, and then if all of a sudden there's somebody who's like, "Hey, Corey, let's both of us go to northern China where most people speak Mandarin." So me and like a Cantonese dude are both hanging out in Beijing. Well, he was born speaking Cantonese, I was born speaking English, but if we're hanging out in Beijing, the language we're probably going to speak is Mandarin. And that's a great example. So it's sort of like both parties are learning a second language just so they can sort of merge over each other in this more accepted language in whatever culture or place of the world you are in. So anyway, these are my big questions to you guys. Why should there be a common language? How should a common language be chosen? Have there been different common languages throughout history? Yeah, so we'll talk about all that stuff today. All right. So here's the sort of history of the lingua francas. And yes, there have been several lingua francas, all related to the most dominant country or region in the globe. 1000 BC all the way till today, the lingua franca of Eastern Asia is Mandarin Chinese. And especially written Chinese. I mean, the spoken language between Mandarin and Cantonese is different, but Mandarin and Cantonese in written form is 100% the same. The big lingua franca of southern Africa is Swahili. Swahili is a surprising blend of Arabic and some other traditional African languages. For most of the ancient world, the lingua franca was Greek, and it's still a pretty widespread language. It definitely has influenced English and other languages because of its former time in the sun. The Middle East lingua franca is, of course, Arabic. Just about everybody in the Arab world either speaks Arabic or learns it. The lingua franca in Latin America is, of course, Spanish. I mean, Brazil is Portuguese, but if you're fluent in Spanish, you can understand almost all of Portuguese too. And then for so much of the ancient world, the lingua franca was Latin, but that is more or less a dead language today. And then we get into kind of modern times. Between 1600 to 1800, the European lingua franca was French. And when Thomas Jefferson was president of the United States, he really tried to push it to be America's official language. It just never worked out. And then between 1800 to 1914, the European lingua franca was actually German. German was the language of poets and thinkers in the 1800s. Most European immigrants to the United States were from Germany, and one of our founding fathers, Benjamin Franklin, really tried to push German to be the official language of the United States. He said it would sort of disconnect us more and more from England, and it definitely would have. And it would have been a way to sort of create a new nation way out here, totally separate from England. But that never really happened. And starting in the year 1914 all the way to today, the worldwide lingua franca is English. And why English? Why has English now become the main language of planet Earth? That's what I'm really going to talk about today. So I don't know if you kids have to know the time ranges of all these languages, but I think you should have it in the back of your mind that Swahili is the lingua franca of Southern Africa, and that Arabic is the lingua franca of the Middle East. But all the specifics of this, I don't know if it's really going to come up on a test or anything. But knowing that sort of every language had their time in the sun, I think makes sense too. But let's really deep dive into why English today. Okay, well, why is English the lingua franca? We could argue that it's mostly due to America's military strength and America's economic strength. We are the number one country in the world still to this day with economy and all these other things. And a lot of countries do like to emulate America, and a lot of global culture emulates from America. But I'm actually prepared to argue this, that between 1700 and 1945, the United Kingdom conquered more land than any other country, and it spread their language with them. And I mean, this is a debatable topic, but I really do think that the UK and their global empire, and they, asked the people of the places they took over to speak English. I think that is the larger reason why English is so popular today, but then it's only enforced by America's military and economic power. So it's really made it like a double reason for why people should learn English, because not only can you communicate with people in the United States, you can also communicate with anybody in the former British Empire territories. Yeah, in many countries around the world, they seek that tourist revenue, especially from English speaking countries. So if America had some terrible, terrible economic crisis and we weren't allowed, or we didn't have the money to spend as tourists anymore, well, maybe a lot of countries would try to switch the lingua franca over to Mandarin Chinese or to Arabic or to something that they could use to attract tourists. So they do invest a lot of money in teaching people English in so many countries around the world because, hey, more of your people in your country speak English, more English tourists are going to want to go there. I know Thailand's economy is 42% tourism, and just about everybody I talked to in Thailand spoke some amount of English. And that's just because they realize people that speak English tend to have money, and you want to communicate with those people to get their money. So learn the language, share in the economic prosperity. That's kind of the idea. All right, let's check it out. So these are all the countries that Britain used to own. So as you can see, Britain is just spread out all over the world. Congratulations, Britain, your empire sort of lives on in its linguistic heritage. But I think just about every country highlighted here, English is either the official language or the de facto language. So all over the world, people speak English. There you go. Yeah, all the lands ever held by the British Empire. There you go. That's kind of the same vibe. And then lingua franca English. That's this whole presentation. And then this is it, the most spoken second languages by country. So as we look all over Europe, the most commonly second spoken language is definitely English. And in the UK and in Ireland, English is already the official language. I think it's just so funny that Ireland has so thoroughly become assimilated into English that the language Irish is now sort of the second language. And why do these states speak Russian? Well, it's because Russia's right next door, so that makes a lot of sense. But it looks like the entire European world, everybody's speaking English. Like I had best friends in college who were from Amsterdam, and they spoke totally fluent English, and they had a lot of really funny sayings and stuff. So, and then, yeah, check this out. These are some kids probably in South Asia somewhere. They're all learning English. Mr. Brown had a job kind of like this, but in a fancy school in Korea. Oh, hey, that's not me, but that's more of the vibe that I did for 2 years of my life. Okay, so how is the globalizing world aiding to English's importance? I'm actually prepared to even make this argument. English is the lingua franca of the world, and for the foreseeable future, it shall remain. There would have to be some pretty crazy developments for English to not be the number one language, and I guarantee you English will be the number one language for probably your entire lives. And yeah, so congratulations, kid. By learning this language, you have lucked out way more than so many other kids around the world. And yeah, so here we go. Why is English number one? Well, because of the globalized world, people sort of need that common language. People need that lingua franca. And here's just some facts that just enforce and lock in English's position. The United Nations, the official language is English. If you want to be a representative to the United Nations from any country in the world, probably got to have mastery of the English language. Here's another just huge one. All international airports are dual language. They are English and the home country's language. And I thought that was so interesting. Like when I went to South Korea, the main heading is in English and the subheading is in Korean. When I went to Thailand, the main heading is in English, the subheading is in Thai. I'm like, that's kind of rude for their home culture, you know? Like, wouldn't they want their language to be the more important one? But I mean, these are international airports, so they're seen as this greater web of global connectivity. And as people from all over the world are traveling, it's just easier for everyone to just learn English, and then you're good at any airport ever. And also going on with airports, all pilots and all air crew are required to have basic English proficiency. I remember when I was in South Korea, for a while I dated this Korean girl who wanted to be a stewardess, and she was like, "Oh, I'm so happy I'm dating you because you're a white guy who speaks English, and you can teach me your language better, because then I'll, become a stewardess faster." And yeah, and I also have met pilots that want to be international pilots, but they can't pass English exams, so they won't let them fly. And I mean, it makes so much sense, right? Because if you're a pilot and you're flying all across the world and you like radio into a radio tower, you're like, "I'm having engine trouble, help me." And the person responds in Arabic, you're like, "I don't speak Arabic, I don't know what to do." So everybody who's all pilots, all air traffic controllers, all those people all speak English. So it is truly the language of the sky. And the United Nations established that. So that's pretty cool. Yep, there's the UN building. And the UN is in New York City, too. So it makes sense that English is the language. And then, yep, every single airport you ever go to, what language will the pilot speak? It's English. What language will the stewardesses speak? It's English. Okay. More stuff about English's importance. English is the official language of international business. There's a lot of international laws where there's some kind of business transaction. The official like rules of business around the world are in English. So and this really comes up to where lingua franca comes in. Like let's say some people in Uzbekistan are doing a deal with some people in Russia. They probably will do the deal in English. 75% of the internet is in English. All of the most popular computer coding languages are rooted in English. You got to learn English before you can code. So, English is the language of computers, and it also sort of makes sense because computers were invented by British and American people. 9 out of the 10 best universities in the world are taught in English. You'll find those universities in the United States or England. And if you're an aspiring smart kid in Africa somewhere, you're going to want to learn English so you can go to these better universities. All of the top grossing films worldwide are in English. And I think that's actually changing. I think India's film industry is getting a whole lot bigger over time. But still, if you just averaged out the amount of money films make, especially if you consider all around the world, it's going to be English, okay? English is the language of media. And people also think that English is cool. It's sort of like a status symbol. And I remember there were times when I was in Korea where sometimes my Korean friends would just like sort of show me off and be like, they would speak in really broken English. They'd be like, "Oh, I have an American friend." And I'm like, "Okay," I'm like, "Yeah, you do." And for some reason, they're like, "Oh, because your friend speaks fluent English, you're cooler because of it." And then there are all kinds of Korean kids. I'll show you pictures at the end of this presentation that have just terrible words written on their shirts or on their fashion choices. And it's just random English sentences or English phrases. And you're like, that doesn't mean anything in the language. But there's almost a style to showing off English. So interesting stuff. All right, moving on. So what do we got here? The top 10 universities in the UK, Cambridge, Oxford, King's College. Okay, you probably have heard of these at some point in your life. They're all top tier universities. Here's the best universities in the United States. Way over here in Massachusetts, we got MIT, we got Harvard, we got Brown. That's where my father went. No relation to the family, by the way. And then over here by New York City, we got Cornell, Yale, Princeton, Columbia, UPenn. And then, look at this. This is where Mr. Brown went to college, the University of California, Santa Barbara. Hey, Gauchos. And, I had a lot of friends who went to University of San Diego. So all of these are top tier universities in the world. Everybody's trying to get in. So you got to speak English if you want a shot. So there you go. All right, and then yeah, here's just some more universities. So 9 out of the 10. It looks like number 9 is the University of Tech in Zurich, Switzerland, and I'm pretty confident I can say that the majority of the classes are not in French or German or Italian. Pretty sure even at this university in Zurich, the main language of instruction is still in English. So that's cool. And yeah, here's just some more rankings. So USA, USA, England, USA, yeah, so many universities, all top tier, and 2 in Japan. So hey, Japan's, I guess, Japanese would be the next language for education. And the internet's all in English. Yep. And then here's a bunch of Chinese people watching the movie Titanic. So it's going to be probably subtitled in Chinese, but the main language of the movie still English. And here they are watching Resident Evil in China. And oh, here's a bunch of Korean kids. You obviously know what movie they're watching. They're just all about the Avengers. Okay, so yeah, here's the stupid English shirts. Think less, stupid more, home of boobies. What the heck is this? Okay, and I saw so many of these pictures when I lived in Asia, and I'm like, or well, not really pictures. I saw these in real life, but I'm just like, this is like, do you know the words on your shirt? Come on. What is this? Take good care. I'm not even gonna read that. Fart sexy style. No thanks, actually. I don't know what that's about. I'm just gonna skip that one. What else we got here? No, please don't do that. Um, what is this? I feel happiness when I eat a potato. You know what? Me too. That's a cuss word on that. I'm not gonna read that one. Uh, oh, okay. I don't really know what he's implying. And then Australian hat she was thick. Why he wore a tooth from, and we will get you out of here in. Yeah, do they even know English? They're just like using random words. I saw a lot of this stuff, kids. It confuses the heck out of me. Okay, so here's another thing. It's very, very common for English to be used around Asia when people of 2 different countries meet for business. Oh, yes, I already mentioned a lot of this. It's wild to think that Chinese businessmen and Thai businessmen meet with each other, conversate in English. It is the international language. Everyone defaults to speaking it. There was this really cool interaction I observed when I was in the Tokyo airport. I saw this Korean guy. I know Koreans and Japanese are different. That's a really important thing. And this Korean guy in front of me who was going to Seoul, he goes up to the attendant and he's like says some stuff in Korean, and then the lady says in English, she says, "Sir, would you like to have our conversation in English or Japanese?" And like he's like, English. And so he kind of breaks it with English, and I'm like, wow, like so this guy is in Japan. He speaks Korean, but the lady's only comfortable speaking to him in either English or Japanese. So I was like, whoa. Um, but yes, so the true meaning of lingua franca is just like that situation I observed when a lady born in Japan, a dude born in Korea, she doesn't know Korean, he doesn't know Japanese. When they meet each other, they both know English. They both learned English as this bridging language. And that is the true meaning of lingua franca. So, yes, I hope everybody who's watching this video speaks English well enough. And if it was your native language, then you aren't really following the definition of lingua franca. You just lucked out and you just speak the language of international business and flight and computers and advanced learning. So, congratulations, you won the lottery. All right, let's do it. So here's the global meeting about tourism. I'm sure that this global meeting's language is in English. The opening ceremony of the ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting, and it's all in English, okay? Like the title of the meeting's in English, even though it's in Asia. English in Asia. So besides English and Hindi, those are the primary languages. There's so many other languages in India. There's a ridiculous amount of them. But India's official language is English. Same thing with Pakistan. Pakistan's official language is English, even though so many people speak Urdu and Pashto and Punjabi. Hong Kong's official language is English. Singapore, official language is English. In the Philippines, it's dual language. It's English and Filipino. But I'll tell you, just about everybody in the Philippines will speak some English. All right, and then yeah, here's the what is this? The Proficiency of English scores. So it sort of looks like China's proficiency is still pretty average. It's pretty low. And actually, India's beating China, but that makes sense because they had the history of being a British colony. Um, and yeah, it looks sort of like the more wealthy your country is, you tend to have more English. I'm surprised Thailand is so low. I expected Thailand to be better. All right. Anyway, so let's talk about how English as a lingua franca is kind of a bad thing. Okay. Well, it costs a lot of money to learn a new language. It's a whole lot more of your time and your effort, especially if you want to master the language. And what tends to be the case is the richest countries in the world, all these Western countries, most of them have had a long period of being exposed to English. They're all very comfortable with English. They've got a lot of English teachers and English resources and blah, blah, blah. But if you are a developing Asian country or sub-Saharan African country, you want to get involved in the global economy. You want your people to go to these fancy universities and learn computer codes. But now you also have to teach them English. And that's unfair cost on those weaker countries. Another point I want to mention, English is a terrible language. Oh my gosh. All the rules in English, the efficiency of the English language. Like, if you truly studied English and you're like, how many irregular verbs are there? How many grammatical rules are there? How many choices do you have to make in English? It's a terrible language. We should have chosen a different one. And I think another point I want to make is I think the Thai language has 10,000 words, and the most recent dictionary of English has something like 200,000 words. Like the catalog of word choice is incredible. And I remember when I was living in Korea, there would be plenty of times when Koreans wanted me to like translate songs to them, and I only knew a couple Korean words. I know like good, bad, ugly, beautiful. And one time I was playing this game with those Korean friends of mine. I'm like, so what are some other Korean words that are synonyms to the word beautiful? And they're like 아름답다. And I was like, are there any more? Because in English, you could kind of play the synonym game forever and ever and ever. And they're like, no, in Korean we got one. I was like, okay. And another one is if everybody learns English, and that seems to be the case. I mean, English is only growing every year. But if everyone just only learns English as their lingua franca, they're probably going to lose their smaller languages and their smaller cultural groups. Yeah, like there really has to be an effort done now to kind of like keep certain languages alive. For example, Ireland, everybody speaks English, and Irish is a dying language. Got to keep the Celtic pride alive, people. All right, so let's see why English is so rough. Let's get it. We'll begin with box. The plural of box, or the plural is boxes, but the plural of ox is oxen, not oxes. One fowl is a goose, two are called geese. Yet a plural of moose is never called meese. See, like, read through this whole thing, and you'll just realize how stupid English is, because it really doesn't make logical grammatical sense. As far as like these grammatical tricks that you see on this slide, Korean solved all these problems immediately, and it was so hard for me to explain to my Korean students that so many of these words have unique rules, and it really, really frustrated them, They're like, teacher, I have 2 feet. Look at my 2 feet. I have 1 foot, 2 feet. And I'm like, no, get rid of that S. And they're like, why? But it's 2. 2 gives S. And it was frustrating. Okay, 10 reasons why English is weird. The bandage was wound around the wound. Okay, and all these sentences are just so impossible if you're trying to learn English. We must polish the Polish furniture. He could lead if he would get the lead out. Like, how does that make any sense? They're the same words. And of course, like, you have to sort of train yourself over a lifetime of being exposed to English words to know the Polish and Polish differences. You've got to identify the adjective and the verb. But Korean kids, it was so impossible. Oh my gosh, I definitely had some fail days as an educator back then. And then here's just something else. This is the graph showing who around the world are studying what languages. So, second place is French, surprisingly enough. I thought Japanese would be more. That's the impression I get from high school kids in America. But as you can see, there's 7.5 billion people on planet Earth, and 1.5 billion of them are all studying English. So that's what, 20%, 30% of all the people on planet Earth. No, maybe 20%. 20% of people all over planet Earth are studying this language. They all wish they could be fluent. Holy cow. Yeah, and also, like, when I got that offer to teach English in South Korea, I quickly got overwhelmed by so many other countries all over the world. They're like, all right, once you do Korea, come over to Thailand, come over to Saudi Arabia. We'll take you. We want experienced teachers. So that's always going to be an option for you kids. You know, if nothing else works out after college, you can get a job as an English teacher, probably in China. They will hire you. They'll pay you. It's not great money, but it's something. What else we got here? Languages closely related to English. So if you gave it, what is this, 6 months? Yeah, if you gave it 6 months, you could master just about all these languages because they're reasonably similar to English. If you gave it a full year of study, you could master these languages. But then category 3 languages, languages that'll take you 2 years or more. Oh, look, Korean. What did I do to myself? And the reason why Arabic and these Asian languages are so much different is because the whole grammar structure is just backwards. And you've really got to, like, reform your mind and reform your thoughts when you speak in those other languages. So, all right, let's keep moving on. And then, yeah, here's just a list of the difficulty range of learning a new language if you already know English. So it looks like Danish, Dutch, French shouldn't be that hard, but the hardest one on this list is, of course, Korean. Why did I do that to myself? TIL, there's a specific order to adjectives for English language. Native speakers can just tell if it sounds right or not, and it may not be apparent to non-native speakers. Interesting. In general, the order is opinion, size, age, shape, color, origin, material, purpose. Interesting. So what if I said the crappy, large, old, yellow, Chinese cement hammer. Yeah, okay. That's a whole lot of adjectives. But what if I switch those up? The old, cement, yellow, Chinese, crappy. Yeah, you know that just sounds wrong. Huh. Interesting. I don't know if there's a specific rule about that, but it's just a part of the English language that I didn't even know I knew. It's just something we've all used. Okay. All right, now I think the rest of this is just me showing really silly pictures. So get ready to see some funny uses of English around the world. Some of these actually have like cuss words in them and stuff, and I'm pretty confident I can tell you that they didn't intend to put cuss words in here, and these were just people making terrible mistakes as they tried to translate stuff in countries around the world. So let's see here. All you can eat buffet, not mean all day buffet. You come, stay 4 hour, you eat, you go home. Okay, thank you. Shoplifters will be prostituted. Oh, wow. I don't even want to read this one because I think I had some translation problems there. What have we got here? Special chicken, chicken first kiss, Gunda chicken, Jabara chicken, chicken sweet and sexy. Ooh, wow. Okay. Entrance for grope tourists. Oh, you kind of spelled that word wrong there, guys. Parking charges, first 20 minutes free, outpatients, first 4 hour, every additional hour, please get a punch at window 2. Oh, gonna just punch you at window 2. Oh God. Please don't touch yourself. Let us help try you out. Oh, that's so gross. Old, weak, and pregnant. Oh my gosh. An old, weak, pregnant lady? Man, those would be hard to find. Take luggage of foreigner, no charge. Hey, don't take my luggage. Leave my luggage alone. When carrying a parasol, please be careful to get in the way of other people around you. Oh my gosh. Get in the way of other people? It's so rude. Oh, I like this one. Do not disturb. Tiny grass is dreaming. Oh, that just sounds cute. I like that. Violators will be towed and fined $50. What? You're just gonna get 50 bucks? Okay, that's cool. People are eating children. Oh no! Please leash your dog and clean up after them. Not the dog too. Oh, they're eating the children. Boneless, skinless children's thighs. $2.95 a pound. Oh, gross. And that's even more gross. I'm gonna skip that one. Money changer, no commission, no ripoff, no. Oh gosh. Okay, they really got lost on Google Translate there. I don't really want to talk about that one either. Ooh, that's gross. Drive carefully. 90% of all people are caused by accidents. Oh, so mommy and daddy didn't love each other? Uh, Illegally parked cars will be fine. Oh, okay. No, it's gonna be fine. I'll just park my car there. All right, that's it for me. Peace out.